Hello and welcome to Anime Recapped. Today we'll be covering episodes 9 to 12 from the first season of Dr. Stone. This is the third out of 3 parts. Lay back and enjoy the recap. All the villagers hear the call of Suika, who's with Chrome at a food stand at the entrance, where ramen is made and served. The smell entices many of the villagers and drags them to the entrance. Senku, Chrome, Kohaku and Suika give out bowls of ramen to the many curious villagers. The villagers thoroughly enjoy the abominable ramen that Senku hates. They love it and ask for seconds. Even Kenro and Jinro, the guards to the entrance, get tempted to leave their posts and try some out. Among the people eating, Senku hears a boy who would die for a sip of cola with his bowl of ramen, and he's instantly taken aback by the reference. Kohaku quickly gets the guards to surround the boy so that he can fess up who he is and who his boss is. Kohaku immediately suspects him of working for the long-haired man, Tsukasa. When Senku gets closer, he realizes that it's Asagiri Gen, a magician who calls himself a mentalist, who has written several books on psychology 3,700 years ago. Gen lies about knowing or ever seeing Tsukasa even though it's obvious that he's lying. Senku lets him be because he's eaten the food already, and he intends to work anyone who's eaten the ramen to the bone. Gen quickly gets to the furnace and works hard to blow air into it to melt the iron. Senku takes the chance to ask him about Taiju and Yuzuriha, who he has posted to Tsukasa's place to spy on. Gen replies that they're fine as he knows that Senku just wanted him to confess to indeed working for Tsukasa. As a shallow man, Gen tells Senku that although he liked the ramen, he doesn't like working so hard for it, and so he intends to go back and report that Senku is alive to Tsukasa if Tsukasa provides him with what he wants. When the village's brute, MANHWA, sees the gathering at the entrance, he quickly goes to ruin the moment, but Gen handles him by fooling him with a magic trick using flowers. MANHWA backs off after realizing that he can't stand up to a sorcerer who can make things disappear so easily. Soon, the iron melts and they shape it into a rod to make a generator for electricity. Gen doesn't believe that Senku can pull it off under the circumstance. It starts raining with lightning in that instant, and Senku rallies them up to seize the opportunity right then. They go to the bald mountain where Chrome had found some materials before. It's the highest spot that the lightning can access, making it the perfect spot to get struck by lightning. They use the rod they have obtained earlier wrapped in a copper wire to help transfer the lightning to the rod, using a golden spear that Senku had made for Kenro when he first tried to bribe him. To get it up closer to the lightning to charge it, they successfully obtain electricity. They use the remaining copper and the iron rod to make a generator with which Senku uses a bamboo filament to create light from. He shows Chrome that the modern world had light even at night, impressing even Gen, who had his mind made up about the side he wanted to take. The next day, Gen finally decides to go home. Senku wants him to report him as dead, but Gen is unpredictable, so he doesn't know where he stands with him. As Gen leaves, he looks at the generator and remembers the past and that he finally got to see artificial light again. He smiles at the thought. While wandering his way back to Tsukasa, MANHWA appears and attacks him with a spear, brutally beating him up and stabbing him mercilessly. Gen is left covered in blood, cuts and bruises and can hardly walk, but as he was still getting his behind handed to him, Senku, Kohaku and Chrome heard it as he was still pretty close to the hut. They rushed to see if anyone's hurt to find that it was Gen who was being assaulted. Although he has fake blood pouches all over his person for his tricks, he's still badly wounded. They help him back to Chrome's hut where they treat and dress his wounds with some herbs. Suika quickly goes to investigate who did such a thing, as that's her specialty now, and finds out that it was MANHWA. He attacked because he thought Gen was Senku, the sorcerer who fooled him with a flower trick. She comes back and reports to the group, and Kohaku realizes that her dying sister is going to marry that crazy man. It was all determined by a generational fighting competition, the Grand Bout, which is held by the village where the winner will marry the princess, and that winner was MANHWA, the strongest man in the village. He didn't care about the princess though, he even wanted to plot to kill her and make it look like an accident. He only wants to dictate over the villagers and get as many women as possible. This didn't sit well with Kohaku, who quickly pinned him down and made his win null and void, so the match is to be held again, and Kohaku still doesn't want MANHWA to win. She asks Kenro and Jinro to participate and win to marry Ruri. She trains them herself. Before he leaves, Gen asks Senku to make him a cola and Senku agrees. The next morning, he sprints back to the cave to tell Tsukasa that Senku is dead, although revealing that he found a small civilization. By this time, Tsukasa has revived many people he deems important and has an army to take on anyone. Senku tells his team about their next mission. Since electricity has been obtained, they need to make glass, a material that can withstand any chemical, which makes it perfect to use in a lab. Luckily, they have the materials they need to make one apart from sand, which is literally everywhere with some effort, but they just don't have the skill to craft a good beaker. Chrome knows an old man from the village who can help with the crafting skills needed for the job, so he goes to abduct him and make him come to witness their embarrassment of glass crafting. Even though the old man is reluctant to help, when he sees the painful under par skills of Senku and Chrome's blowing skills, He gets enraged and takes over immediately. And they successfully make their first glass. They refine it and test to see if it works for Suika's eyes, and voila! Suika is finally able to see them properly for the first time in her life. The old man continues to blow glass for them to fill their lab, making Senku reminisce about his old days when the lab was just in his room when he was young. Now that they've acquired glass, their mission moves to making the antibiotic and maybe the cola too. For starters, they need to gather the materials, some of which may be very dangerous to get, and Jinro has to accompany them in exchange for a silver spear. Senku makes the spear to Kenro's dismay as he has lost his golden one and won't ever live it down because Jinro will rub it on his face every chance he gets. But with Senku's kindness comes a great responsibility. Jinro has to lead the way to find sulfuric acid, which is surrounded by a very poisonous gas that the silver spear is supposed to detect. The silver on the spear will turn black as a reaction to the gas, alerting the group of danger ahead. With this knowledge, Jinro goes weak at the knees but does it anyway, and they soon reach their destination where a body of the acid sits and waits for a sucker to jump in thinking it's water and die. That sucker is Jinro, who for some reason gets seduced by the gas and almost inches closer to his death. But thanks to Kohaku, he's saved. The group then goes back to the village and devise a plan to get the acid while avoiding the gas, which is like 1,000,000,000% likely to be impossible. Senku makes a gas mask using some charcoal and other active ingredients to help with the poisoning. He makes one which he intends to use himself and himself alone, but Chrome sees this and demands to tag along. Logically, Senku tells him that it's a bad idea for them to go together should the masks not work, and they both die, the antibiotic won't be created, and Ruri would die. Furthermore, modern civilization would remain extinct because we know Tsukasa is not doing any of that. Anyhow, Chrome manages to make a compelling point to convince him enough to bring him along. Senku gets to working on another mask for him and they make their way back to the acid pool. They finally reach the place and start to collect the acid into the glass containers they now have. And just as they finish up ready to leave, Chrome accidentally slips and flies into the pool, but, luckily, he gets saved by Jinro, who had followed them there after old man McGlassmaker told him he wasn't a coward for getting scared by the incident earlier. He manages to pull Chrome out of harm's way using his silver spear and the trio finally gets out of there with the acid acquired, safe and sound. This concludes the first season of Dr. Stone. Let me know via the like button if you'd like to know what happens in the second season of Dr. Stone.